All right, Bleav in Bama back for another episode. First of all, look at my sweatshirt. Do you like it?
I do like it. Roll Tide.
I think it's pretty good. I have matching pants as well, matching tie-dye crimson pants. I am getting in the spirit with my matching Alabama sweatsuit as it becomes cold in the state of Alabama. And cold is 50 degrees, but still, it's chilly outside. So had to get the matching sweatsuit rolling as we get into some wintry temperatures in Alabama. And with winter coming, with the holidays coming, that can only mean bowl season is upon us. Happy holidays, DJ, and happy bowl season. Are you excited, not just for Alabama, but just for, I'm sure, what will be an interesting bowl season in college football?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to watching these games sitting here at home. I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting for this bowl game, Alabama, Kansas State. Also, I'm excited to watch a couple of these teams play next month. As well. So I'm looking forward to it. I got a lot of popcorn. I
Yes.
don't know about the pizza and wings though. But I have a lot of
Oh,
popcorn
come on.
watching the
Gotta
game.
get the pizza and wings. Gotta get the full spread. Gotta get the bowl game food ready to go. I want buffalo chicken dip. That's now
Oh
that
man, don't come on, dude.
10 o'clock in
You
the
can't.
morning and I want buffalo chicken dip. That's where we're at
Oh
today.
God.
I'm going to think about it for the rest of the day now too. I'm going to be thinking about wings and pizza. And when I'm eating my salmon meal prep tonight for dinner, that's what I'm going to be thinking about is buffalo
Oh
chicken
God.
dip.
Well, just send me a picture if you go get some, because I
I
can't
will.
help it.
I will. I'll be sure to do that. Looking forward to a bunch of interesting matchups. Of course, we're not talking about the college football playoff, the top 4 teams. Alabama sitting just outside of that at number 5, but I think the college football playoff should be interesting to say the least. I think it's going to be a Georgia-Michigan national championship, and I don't think there's I don't know.
Really?
I don't know. I like TCU and I like Max Duggan. I was pulling for him in the Heisman race. And I was surprised, honestly, to see him come in second the way that he did. So I like him. And I like the heart that he shows in that TCU team, but I don't know if they'll do it against Michigan. But you never know. But I think Georgia is gonna beat Ohio State the way they've been playing. So I see a Georgia Michigan national championship. And you seem surprised by that. You seem surprised by that prediction of mine.
I look at it this way. I say if I say the way TCU played in that game versus K State, I think it's gonna be a little harder than that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they get. I think they got enough power to beat them. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
to enough players, special teams, play defense. I think they got enough talent to beat Michigan.
I
That's
think it's
just
going to be a closer game than maybe people expect, and
right.
like I know we kind of talked about the who should get in the playoff and everything last week, and obviously a lot of people do harp on TCU kind of maybe for their strength of schedule and everything like that. And yeah, sure, you only have the one loss, but look at you, you're playing and all that kind of stuff. And everyone's like, oh, well, if Alabama or Tennessee or whoever would beat TCU, then why are they not in it? And that kind of stuff. But it's certainly not to say that TCU is not a talented football team. So I think it'll be a lot closer of a game, maybe, or I'm hoping it is, because I'm not a TCU fan in any way, shape, or form, but I do really like Max Duggan, what we saw out of him, and just what I got to see in that matchup against Kansas State. Obviously they have something to prove, and they are like Cincinnati last year. They're coming into this. I know it's the college football playoff, so you want to compete for a national championship, but it's kind of like, okay, we have nothing to lose here. I mean, these guys, they know that they're the underdogs, pretty much to a lot of people in the country. They know they're the underdogs. So they're like, listen, we don't have anything to lose. If we come out and we play the way that we did against Kansas State, minus maybe some things that they would have preferred to have done better and maybe not have had that game be as close as it was. But, if we come out and we play the way that we did and with the heart that we did in that game against Kansas State, then, maybe they could get that upset over Michigan. But of course, we'll just have to wait and see until New Year's Eve to find that out. Do you at least like my Georgia over Ohio State? Now I'm feeling critiqued. Now I feel like you don't
I mean,
my prediction.
I always gonna love the SEC. I'm always gonna root for the SEC. I mean, Georgia win, but I'd rather be Alabama. But I got to settle for Kirby Smart, of course. I mean, I was Alabama with him, so
I'm gonna say
I
our
root for
guy
him.
Curbs.
But I don't root for Georgia like that. So I'll just let you know.
No, just so everyone knows, this is not a Georgia stan podcast, okay? And that is coming from someone who grew up outside of Atlanta, who probably 50% or more of my high school went to the University of Georgia, and I do not do with the dogs, okay?
I was just making sure. I was like, you sound so confident when you say that.
Oh, no. I am not. I have good best friends of mine that are Georgia fans, and I do not mess with that. People are always like, oh, like you hate Auburn, right? And I was just like, Auburn and we're fine. Auburn and I don't love them, but I certainly do not love the grown men from Georgia that bark in my face. No,
for sure.
I was like, no, I don't mess with Georgia football. But just looking at the way that they have played this season, I think they can beat Ohio State, especially just going back and looking at the Ohio State Michigan game during the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
I think CJ Stroud, and obviously an incredible athlete, an incredible player. He was a Heisman finalist for a reason, but I'm not sold on necessarily Ohio State as a whole, as a team going up against this Georgia team, who I have seen a decent amount this season continue to impress me both offensively and defensively. So I'm thinking Georgia, Michigan, but of course we have to wait and see until New Year's Eve. Going to be a day full of football. Of course, those two college football playoff matchups, but the main reason that we are here today is to talk about the Sugar Bowl that will also be played on New Year's Eve. Of course, an incredible accomplishment to make it to a New Year's Six bowl game, the 5th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide going into that Sugar Bowl matchup. Saying that just now even sounds a little bit weird because, of course we're used to in recent years saying, oh, the top ranked Tide, or, Alabama in the college football playoff, and they're 5th ranked. I don't know if you have seen this on Twitter and stuff this week, but for the first time since Nick Saban arrived in Tuscaloosa, and probably for a while, well, I guess since 2006 or whatever, the men's basketball team at Alabama ranked higher than the football team. And I'm like, what is happening? I am in a fever dream. What is it? It's only by one ranking. The basketball team's 4 and the football team's at number 5, but it is wild. Wild times in Tuscaloosa. Apparently we're a basketball school, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, you're changing the culture. I mean, I watched a few games. That is crazy. I can't remember the kid's name. It's been many years since I've been to. It's one of the kids from Huntsville, Alabama, and he plays on the Alabama basketball team.
Oh,
I coached him when he was a kid. I can't think of his name off that, but he's actually playing. Playing right now. So I mean, I'm not shocked that Alabama hasn't won yet. They're gonna be that basketball team is pretty strong and pretty solid.
They are. Yeah, I'm going to say they've been a fun team to watch and cover so far. The Memphis game gave me a little bit of anxiety, but we're not here to talk about basketball. But earlier in the week, talking to Coach Nate Oates ahead of that Memphis game, that everyone brought up, they're like, hey, so for the first, this is y'all's highest ranking since 2006, for the first time since Nick Saban got to Tuscaloosa, which feels like eons ago. It feels like, some people don't even know Alabama football without Nick Saban affiliated with it. They're like, hey, Nate, for the first time since Nick Saban's been here, like y'all are ranked higher than the football team. And he kind of took a second to really process that and kind of take it in and just kind of laugh and be like, I mean, they're like, what do you think about that? And he's like, I mean, before we even get to basketball and the way we've been playing, I think that speaks to the unreal level that Coach Saban has had this Alabama football program at. He's like, I mean,
Mhm.
he's probably been ranked number 1 or 2 in like at least half of the polls that he's been in
Mhm.
since he got here. So it just
Right.
speaks to the incredible talent that they continue to bring into the Alabama football program and the standard that they continue to play to. And I think obviously everyone is in agreement with Coach Oates on that, looking at the football team. So despite being ranked number 5 in the country, to most people, you know, that sounds great and that sounds normal. To Alabama, that isn't the standard that they're used to, but that's the cards they have been dealt this season. And I think they're going to do what they can to make the most of it in the Sugar Bowl, going up against the champion from the Big 12. Kansas State ranked number 9 in the country in the final college football playoff rankings, coming off what is an upset win over TCU, who made it into the college football playoff. But we kind of briefly talked about this last week. You know, like Kansas State getting a win in that game, it is technically an upset. TCU was ranked higher. They were favored, I think, by most. But in the end of the day, Kansas State still ranked in the top 10 in the country. So it's not like they went in there as an unranked team and managed to come out with a win. They went into that game ranked. They came out of it obviously ranked and with a win and a Big 12 championship. So this is an impressive football team, despite the fact that people want to say, oh, they got the upset to win the Big 12. It's like, okay, well, they're in the Big 12 championship and they were ranked. They had a good record. So it's not this crazy upset. So that is who Alabama is going to be going up against in the Sugar Bowl. Just off the beginning of your research, your extensive research of Kansas State. I'm sure you've watched every single game from this season and every single highlight. And so you are our Kansas State expert this week. What have you seen from them looking at that Big 12 championship against TCU? And what are you impressed with?
I gotta say, I'm really impressed with how they run their offense. I think their offense is really good. They have real good offensive front. From watching the linemen are very physical. They make the QB makes really good decisions. I think that just come with time and growth. They also have a great rushing attack. They can run that ball. One of their running backs has about 1,400 yards rushing right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's ranked up there pretty high. For as being one of the best backs almost. I mean that is a whole lot of yards, and he had a good game against TCU too. Matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
they have a great. His name is Deuce, by the way. That's his name. But he did a
Yes.
great job. I think they have a great rushing attack, and they run a little bit of RPOs on the offense. They do a great job with their communication on the offense. I think they do a great job with that on defensively. They have some good pass rushers. They have good edge rushers on the edge. Maybe some. So I gotta say now, I don't know how I can't tell how physical they are because I mean, as always, you try to go back to conference and see how physical
Mm-hmm.
the guys are. But looking at the game they played before, they seem like they're pretty solid. They had a couple sacks in the game. Their interior know how to stop the run. So I mean, overall, I think those guys they have a good solid ball club.
Mm-hmm.
They're very well balanced, running and passing. Their favorite thing is to go to the deep ball. They throw a lot of deep ball passes. Been very successful with that. They have good receivers. They have great releases. Um, Other than that, I think they're gonna be a real balanced team to really kind of how do I say they're gonna be kind of hard to beat because
Mm-hmm.
they're so good at what they do. They're so good at what they do that they're very the way they execute is really good. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so far that what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. I got on those guys.
You got notes. You were ready to
Oh yeah, I
go.
have no. I had to write it down. You know.
I don't respect that, and I understand that completely. I think your kind of point to the end, something that popped into my mind is a couple, well, I guess maybe it was this past March, one of the local colleges here in Huntsville that I cover, they were getting ready for March Madness for basketball, and I mic'd up the head coach during practice to do a little segment, and he said something getting ready for that March Madness game that kind of sticks out to me now. And he's like, you know, guys, like, this is going to be fun. Like, for the first time in 2 or 3 months, we're getting ready to face off against a team that we're not used to, someone that maybe we haven't seen before. And to your point, you know, they're going to be tough to stop in different ways because they like to do a lot of different things and everything. And it might be stuff that Alabama hasn't seen so far this season because it's not an SEC team. You know, he was saying, talking about March Madness, of course, you know, you play your conference opponents in basketball just like you do football. He's like, you know, for the past couple of months, we've been used to everything that we've seen. And same with Alabama, you know, going into their matchup with Auburn or Ole Miss and LSU, Tennessee, they knew for the most part, they had a good idea of maybe what they were going to see. Now this Kansas State team, they might throw some different things at them that they haven't been used to seeing with their SEC schedule this season. Things that are different that maybe Kansas State has had success in the Big 12 that might throw Alabama for a loop. And it's like, as a competitor and someone who likes to play the great game of football, it's like, this is going to be fun. Like, you want to have fun. And for these guys that take the field for Alabama, some of my favorite moments to see are when the games are close, and you know, when teams are getting on Alabama a little bit, you see the look on Bryce and Will and Henry's faces, and they're not fazed by it because they're having fun. They're enjoying playing the game of football. And I know Alabama football fans, obviously, and I don't mind a blowout every now and then. I don't, but you know, I think fans tend to be like, oh, well, if we're not beating a team by 35 every single game, then what are we doing? It's like, well, you're playing the game of football. Like, you're having fun. But that's kind of what Alabama's standard has gone to, is to have these blowouts and to just beat everyone so easily. But I don't think that's necessarily going to be what happens with Kansas State. Like you said, they're a good ball club and they do a lot of things well between Deuce Vaughn and then, you know, the rest of their offense, and then defensively, of course, as well. You know, they know how to play and they know how to win football games, because they're not going to win a Big 12 championship just by sitting around and not being able to do that. So I think, to your point, I think the rush, I think Deuce Vaughn is definitely going to be someone that Alabama has to get after immediately. I don't think, I think, you know, we've said it all season about just letting teams have that fire and having them have that ability to feel like they can come out on top. I think Deuce Vaughn is going to be a big factor in that. And if they don't shut him down early in this one, he himself has the ability to potentially run away with a few scores. So I think he is someone that absolutely, you know, the defense is going to have to get after immediately. And I'm sure that is a huge focus for Alabama and Nick Saban preparing for this game, is how do we stop this guy? Because a lot of people have not been able to.
Right. He gets loose. I watch him. He low center of gravity, got great juke moves. He runs real low to the ground. Sometimes he'll truck some people, drag a couple guys along with him. I want to say he's an outstanding back. I mean, he's real fluent, the way he moves, running, and everything. It's just about really being physical with him. I think if Alabama can contain him being physical with the offensive line, get into the run, start putting the guy in the backfield, making him uncomfortable. You know, definitely rely on the pass, and then you make a guy one dimensional, and then you know what he's gonna do all game. You know, they run a lot of gap scheme. They have a little zone scheme, outside zone, a little bit of the tight zone. I mean, I've just been watching them, so I mean, I've been just kind of like studying them, seeing what they do in different formations. You know, and I think, now, I'm not going to say now they're just going to shut him down, because that kid got talent. He's going to break a few. But it's really about keeping that guy contained. But like I said, K-State, they have talent. They have guys that can catch the deep ball, got tall receivers. They that can throw the court. The QB make great decisions. It's just about, can this QB have enough time to get that ball off,
Right.
or can we cover the guys well enough where we're not getting beat or have a PI. That's what it comes down to. That's why I said, like, watching those guys, they play hard. They play physical. Yeah, like I remember playing Michigan when I played in Cowboy Stadium, and it was like, dog, these guys are a little bit different. They're faster. Wasn't used to that. And then, and that's where it comes down to this. Like, when they come down to this game that they're gonna play, they're gonna play fast and physical. I mean, some guys are a little bit faster than that.
Right. I think looking just at Deuce Vaughn specifically, but the ability just to stop them offensively and everything, how they're going to be able to go about that. Do you think that, this team in the Big 12, do you think that, I know obviously you would know better than I would as a player in the SEC, and you kind of touched on it just there talking about, going up against Michigan and some guys a little faster and everything like that. Do we think that this Big 12 offense, are they going to be able to hang in there as long as Alabama's defense potentially can? I know we always say it's a 4-quarter game and Alabama's ready to play all 4 quarters. Do we think that maybe Alabama's defense is able to slow them down as the game goes on?
I think that comes down to the scheme, the game plan for the week. When it comes down to their preparation, learning things that their formation that they tell you, that the formations tell you. For me, watching the game, their formations tell you a story. If the defense can pick up on that, I think they'll have a good solid defensive game. I think our team has come a long way. They've grown defensively. They had a shutout. They did it. I think they had a lot of growth. I mean, you can see players now getting on each other about blowing assignments. I think when I look at Alabama defense, I say they just got to finish. They got to finish. If they finish the game and play a solid Bama defense and with no distractions and really focus on their game, I think they'll have awesome outcome for as the game coming in December. I mean, late December.
I'm going to say late December, almost 2023. Almost.
I know. 31st.
I don't want to talk about it.
I know. It's a whole new year.
Don't need to talk about it.
But
talking about
overall, go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, but overall, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah,
they will be fine.
This Alabama defense, if they're playing up to the Alabama standard, they're going to be fine. They're going to hopefully be able to take care of business. I think a big part of that, something we obviously got to talk about, but we don't know the answer to yet, is are we going to see the unanimous All-American linebacker Will Anderson Jr. out on the field for Alabama? Something that we don't know the answer to yet. We don't know if Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Bryce Young and unanimous All-American Will Anderson Jr. are going to play in this bowl game. These guys have not made an announcement whether they're going to opt out of the bowl game to get ready for the NFL draft. Obviously, again, that's assuming that they are both going to the NFL draft, because that has not been made official by either one of them. But that's just everyone's assumption that the two of them are going to go on to the NFL. So they have the option to potentially opt out of this game. And when I put those titles in front of their names, not to take anything away from their names themselves, but obviously, when you've got the guy who won the Heisman Trophy at quarterback, and then now a unanimous All-American for 2 times in his career, Will becomes just the first ever Alabama football player to be a 2-time or a multi-time unanimous All-American. That speaks obviously to his talent and his ability on the field. So we've got to look at it both offensively and defensively. Who are we going to see on the field for Alabama? And those are just 2 of the guys. Obviously, there are other guys from the Alabama team that have the ability to opt out, but those are just kind of the 2 that have everyone kind of circled and wondering, are Bryce and Will going to play? So of course, starting with the defense, what happens if Will Anderson doesn't play in this ball game?
Man.
You're like, no. You're like, I don't have that
I
in my
mean,
notes.
I don't have,
I don't have that in my
but
notes.
I always go to the notebook. But I mean, I watch Will play. He does make an impact for that defense.
Mm-hmm.
If he does not play, does it hurt his draft status? Probably not. I mean, he's an outstanding player. I mean, he's been balling all year, along with some other guys too on that defensive line. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, will they really miss him? They all have. I always say, Coach Staples is always the next man up
Mm-hmm.
when they come down to it. This is your time to shine. Now, could he make his draft status better? Of course, he could make
Mm-hmm.
his draft status better. He probably can go number 5. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on if he plays or not. But I think overall he has proven what he can do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not it's not. I always say this. It's not worth having an injury, and then you could have just like, no, I don't need to play,
Mm-hmm.
and I could wait and go train, get ready for the draft, and shoot, do your thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Alabama defense is gonna be all right regardless. Either he plays to win, or he does not play.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, he's still one of us. That's how I see it.
Yes, got to get ready for the game no matter what. Looking just from your point of view, with Bryce and Will, the ability to both be first round draft picks, I think they're both going to go very high in the draft this season. Do you think so from a third party and looking out who has never been in this position, just what I know about Bryce and Will, I would honestly, I go back and forth, but I say I would be surprised if both of them did not play in this bowl game. I think in like looking at it, I know if we were playing for a national championship, they would be playing.
But
They would be
for sure.
playing. And so despite the fact that this is short of that expectation and that hope, I think for these guys, this program means so much to them, and their legacy with Alabama means so much to them that they still want to go out on top. They still want to go out with a win. And I think that's something that what I know about the two of them personally is those are the types of players that they are, is that they want to put the game and they want to put the program first above themselves.
Right.
But I also understand, especially with Bryce being a little bit more fragile than big man Will Anderson, I understand the concept of you don't want to run the risk of getting hurt before the NFL draft or the combine or anything. Not that I think that, getting hurt would necessarily severely impact their draft status. I say the keyword severely.
Okay.
I think, if Bryce Young gets an ankle injury God forbid, an ankle injury in the game, I don't think that's going to drastically impact his draft status. But I understand the idea of you don't want to get hurt and everything. As someone, who has gone through the NFL draft process, someone who knows people who have, of course, what do you think is necessarily the right move for these guys, or maybe the right move? And of course, you're an outside looking in. You're not one of these young men making this decision, but do you think it would be wise for them to sit out of the bowl game?
I mean, as the quarterback, Bryce Young, I think for him, I think is it worth it? He got to ask himself, is it worth me playing right now?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can, both these guys can go out here and play, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, how are you going to play? How are you going to perform, knowing that you my thing is you never want to play scared. You never want to play like, oh, I'm gonna get injured. Nah, I'm not playing. Not playing the same. You have a horrible game, and then that ruins your draft status because you had a horrible game.
Mm-hmm.
Because film, a lot of people go off your film. They don't go off afterwards. After you're done playing, that's what they have to go off.
Mm-hmm.
So your last game is how you represent yourself. So however you played before, I would leave on that note because that's who you are every time. But when a guy plays and he has a lot to lose, he goes out there and play a little bit different. He tiptoes around blocks. He may have not trim around the pocket. He may take that hit. instead of trying to run. So those are things you have to think about. And on top of that, let's say you do get injured, how bad is it? What can you recover? Like sometimes in the draft, how the draft goes, people they poke you, prob you, pull your arm, pull your limbs around,
Right.
and they want to see you have any injury. They want to see how healthy you are. They want to check out your knees. They want your ankles. If any ankle injuries, they're checking out that. How many bone fractures? They're getting X-rays. So the teams know where do I draft a guy based on his status, based on his health, based on and sometimes they can predict like maybe like 4 years this guy may not be the same guy because we see his knees are bad or he may have an injury to his ankle. How long can he play like that? Those are things that become factors. And I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. I've been there. So it's like those are things you have to think about. Don't play scared. If you're gonna play in the bowl game, play 100%. Don't think about nothing else. Play your game. And if you don't play, hey, I'm making the best decision for me and my family. That's what you have to think about. And that's how I feel about on both perspectives.
And I think that, I would love to see Bryce and Will suit up one last time and play in this game, but I don't think there is any Alabama fan out there who is necessarily going to be upset or disappointed if they make the decision not to. And I feel like that speaks to the character that those young men have and what they have given to the Alabama football program along with all of their teammates. I think everyone would love to see them play. Everyone would love to see them play one last time for Alabama, but I think everyone understands that obviously the two of them specifically, but anyone else who may opt out of the bowl game, their careers go a lot farther than this Sugar Bowl. And so exactly to your point, you've got to make whatever you believe is the right decision for you. And I don't think anyone is necessarily gonna rag on Will or Bryce because they decide to not play in the game. But again, we don't know that yet. That has not been made official one way or the other from either one of these gentlemen and anyone else on the Alabama team. Will said after he won one of his many awards, and I can't remember which one it was because he has more awards than I could fit in my entire apartment. After this season, after winning one of them, he said that in his interview that he was still, working out with the team and everything, and he had not made a decision whether he was going to play or not. And he's good with the media, so maybe he just knows not to actually give that answer whether he's made that decision or not, but that is at least what he said in that interview. We haven't heard anything from Bryce just yet, or anyone else who could potentially opt out, so we are still waiting to know that information, of course. So if and when they either decide to play or opt out, we'll of course know that, and we'll just have to see what happens on New Year's Eve. But if Bryce is to not play in this game, then obviously we've got to go to Jalen Milroe, our backup quarterback, who we did see play earlier this season. He stepped in the Arkansas game when Bryce did go out with an injury, and then he made his start and played the entire game against the thrilling Texas A&M game in Tuscaloosa. That gives me heart palpitations just thinking about it. So we have seen Jalen Milroe before this season. Of course, we've seen Bryce a lot more, but I think that no matter who is suiting up at quarterback, Kansas State is going to have a difficult time with the Alabama offense because maybe he's not Bryce Young, but he's clearly a talented football player. You don't become a quarterback at the University of Alabama by sucking. That's just, I feel like that's just how it goes. I want to say you don't get there by being a bad athlete or a bad football player. And maybe it's something that maybe Kansas State wouldn't necessarily be as prepared for. They've got film on film that they can watch of Bryce Young and try and prepare for the Houdini-like acts that he can perform on the field. But there's only so much of Jalen Milroe that they would have been able to see before this game. And Jalen, he proves to be different and a different quarterback than Bryce in several different ways. And not necessarily better or worse or anything like that, just different in his abilities on the field. So I think whether it's Bryce or Jalen suiting up, I think they're going to have a difficult task in stopping the quarterback. I think either way, no matter who plays in this game, I think we've said it all season long, but I think no matter who the quarterback is, I think the run game from Alabama has to be there. Especially, we've got a couple of our receivers who have made big plays and have had a little bit more of the reps and game time this season. A couple of those receivers entering the transfer portal ahead of this bowl game. And the receiving game has not necessarily been the strongest all season long. So, we've said all season, let's see what the run game can do. Let's see what Jahmyr Gibbs and Chase McClellan can do. And I think that goes for whether Bryce or Jalen Milroe were to play in this ball game. I think that, getting the run hot, similar to what Kansas State, of course, is going to do with their talented running back in Deuce Vaughn. So I think the run game could prove to be very, very important for this Alabama football team when they take the field in New Orleans.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, how I say it, I think if Alabama wants to wear down that team, they have to run the ball. They have to run the ball effectively and make plays. I think it's time that they show their whole playbook now. You only got one game. This is time you show your whole playbook.
Yeah, might as well do it now.
Might as well do it now. Shoot, I mean, all season I feel like they've been holding back here and there. Like, this is the time that you show your whole playbook, score, get out of there, get the dub. And that's kind of how I see it. But I mean, it's all about the full quarter. It's all about that full quarter, finishing the full quarter, and that's where it matters at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a fun game, I'm sure. New Year's Eve. A quick tidbit that I think is just so important. We always, say that Alabama, they're playing for obviously the jerseys that they're wearing, the names on the back of them. They're playing for this Alabama football program and the standard. And even though it's not a national championship, a New Year's Six bowl game, still an incredible accomplishment, still being ranked number 5 in the country. And something else that Alabama is playing for, and I have this because I don't want to mess it up. So they have not lost to a non-conference opponent in 3 years since the 2019 national championship game against Clemson. They haven't lost to a non-Clemson because Clemson just, is the thorn in our side recently. Hasn't lost to a non-Clemson, non-SEC team since the 2015 Sugar Bowl, which was the CFB playoff semifinals that year. So they haven't lost to a whole lot of non-SEC teams recently. They haven't lost a whole lot at all recently. And this is the first time that Alabama and Kansas State are going to play each other. So of course they want to go out with a bang and they want to go out with a win in that game. So then they want to go out with a win for this season. And like we were saying earlier about Bryce and Will, whether they play in this game or not, they want to see their guys win this game. They want to bring a win home from New Orleans for the Alabama fan base and everybody. So I think that, this Alabama football team, despite it not being maybe the game that they set their eyes on earlier in the season, still one that they are absolutely going to bring their hopefully best competition and get it done in New Orleans because, even though you're not playing for a championship, you're playing for a New Year's Six bowl game. And I think a lot of football players around the country would be happy to be in that situation and be in that position to be able to compete in such a great game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think K-State is going to treat this game like a national championship game. I think that's what they're going to treat it because, I mean, you beat Alabama, it's like winning a whole national championship. Plus, I mean, the program is great. So, I mean, if you can beat that team, that says a lot about your program. So, I mean, but then I don't see that happening.
You're like, let me get this straight. I don't see that happening.
I don't see it happening. But that's how opponents see Alabama. It's competition. Yep. They see if I can beat Alabama, I can beat any other team. So I mean, they're gonna have their hands full. I gotta say, Bama planning on rolling through that tide like always. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It's gonna be a great ball game. I can't wait for it. It's gonna be exciting, electrifying. People gonna be on the edge of their seats. That's what I came for.
Yes.
Came for. So I mean, that's what I plan on seeing. So I mean, I'm looking forward to this ball game.
I am too. I think Alabama favored by 3.5 in this matchup. I will throw out, I say maybe we go a little bit more than 3.5. I say 35-27 Alabama.
35-27.
Yeah, I'll go 35-27 in the Sugar Bowl.
I got 34-21.
Okay. So we're similar. We're on the same page here.
Yeah.
All right. I like that. So Alabama getting ready to take on Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl. I almost lost my train of thought there for a second. I was like, we've only talked about who they're playing the whole episode, and now I can't even remember it. It's fine. I need more sleep, clearly. Alabama getting ready to take on Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl. We still have a little while until that game. We've still got a couple of weeks until they take the field in New Orleans on New Year's Eve, but they're going to be hard at work on the practice field. Nick Saban and company going to be drawing up a great game plan for this matchup. And DJ and I, we're excited about it. Getting ready for a New Year's Six bowl game. Very exciting times.
Can't wait. See you guys there. Roll Tide.
Can't wait. And yes, as the sweatshirt says, roll tide to everyone involved.